Okay, so here we are. This is, what is it? Battle of Nola. And we're in the same position we were before. I just want to roll the die, see if Nero's forces come in. They come in on a 0 through 4, and they're not going to come in this turn. Now, Carthage isn't sure of that, but they're going to play as they do. They can't hold off their attack in, some kind of fear of what might happen. Remember, they've got their cav up here ready to strike against the Romans. That's going to be a kind of tricky situation for Rome, I think. So Hannibal opened up using his elite bonus to move the skirmishers forward, the Balearic slingers, who really suck, to tell you the truth. And probably the most effective thing they've ever done here is they caused a lot of the Romans to throw missiles at them and really disrupt them. This is because Carthage is on the offensive here in particular, and kind of a central axis rather than in most of the games where they don't really want to engage the center terribly heavily. So what they did was they were trying to basically whatever they could with them. They've left gaps so they can come through and attack. But the problem is the Romans in the center chose not to deploy and not to throw their javelins. And really that's perhaps the best option. I wish I had done that with these, but as I started to get those no missiles and see, oh my, the light infantry are going to come up, I chose to stop throwing. Well, these guys are no longer really easily hit by the light infantry. One of them can get there, but and then I restarted coming here and did some serious damage to them. None of them routed. The most they could take was 2 hits from the 2 deployed Romans they'd be facing, and then they pulled back. Not a lot of effect there. Got to figure out what Rome's going to do, though. Primarily, they're worried about the cav, like I said. So the Roman commander on this side was able to issue a line command, and he's kind of refusing the flank, lining up with the Triarii here, and preparing himself for that possible onslaught. It may be the case that the Numidians are going to come around and hit the Triarii, bringing them into the battle. Now, this actually highlights one of the things I don't like about this system terribly much. I feel like it's something of a flaw, which is this same commander could have issued that same line order all the way across here. Now, to me, a line order moving this part up here makes perfect sense, but one forming a square out of, half the command, basically, and using the other half to go do something else, splitting a command up in that way from this end of it just is difficult to swallow. And likewise, if things were kind of scattered, you could order troops, go off here, go off here. To me, that's not really in the spirit of a line command. I play it because, to be honest, the Roman command structure needs all the help it can get. But I've looked in the rules several times and just did again, for some way around, that to indicate what I'm doing is illegal. Because several times I've found things where I'm playing it wrong. But this one seems to be the case, actually, that you can split up your line command and really maneuver your troops more than I would feel a regular line order should make sense to. It may just be an a bit of abstraction that's okay. In this case, it doesn't bother me one bit. I took the line here and moved it into place in what I think is a singular line order anyway. It's one that he couldn't have done otherwise, though, with his low command rating. Alright, well, we got more Romans to play. I'm not sure what the Romans want to do, but they, I think, want to play for defense right now and try to bring the try to wait until Nero's forces get on the map and can start harassing one flank or the other of the Carthaginian army. At this point, Carthage is feeling like they probably should have tried to pull off a Trump move with those Numidians. As soon as they saw this happening, to hit the Triarii. Didn't really want to, though. Hitting the Triarii, getting too close to them, it activates them, it makes them fully part of the Roman contingent. They are kind of a weak spot, and it might not be that big a deal, but now they're all facing backwards. We've got a complete kind of square for the Romans, or oval, and they're going to be a harder nut to crack. However, I'm going to try to crack them front on, hitting them where they have already expended their missiles with the elephants, but more specifically with those light infantry, and then the phalanx is following up. See if I can crack into that center and get the nice tasty gooey innards. But it definitely makes the job harder. It would have been much easier with all those cav and mobile units to do a job on them. One thing that's kind of risky here, the Roman cav has been left outside this circle, and it's probably in danger, not so much from the elephants, it'll run from the elephants, but more from this little contingent of lancers. And that's okay though. Alright, it's going to be tough to find any traction against this. A strike, in this direction doesn't quite do it because he's hitting a front edge. So there's nowhere that's really open. Maybe an attack this way, if there's no chance to pull that together. So there's still one Roman commander left who's got to give an order, and I think he's going to give the line order in order to pull that unit in, to tell you the truth. So far, Carthage hasn't done a good job of exploiting what the skirmishers did for them. The elephants, well, one of them hit this corner piece. It's now off the map. The rest of them weren't quite able to reach. The medium infantry hasn't been able to come, and they've kind of blocked off their light infantry. So I feel like Carthage is making some serious mistakes here. Now, I still have the ability to charge forward with those lights. Got the Numidian horse, which isn't really able to do much of anything right now. We might try to break the Roman line, but that's a tough job. Hitting light cav, they'll probably do some harassment techniques, but light cav against those legions is on the 4 table, and against the heavies, well, it's on the 7 on the heavies, which isn't bad at all. So if they want to bring the Triarii in, they're okay, but probably what they'll do is ride up and do some harassment throwing javelins. Well, at the end of the turn, the Numidians came forward, and they chucked some javelins, and overall maybe got the better of it, causing a couple of cohesion hits. They were able to recover theirs because of their superior leadership. The lights came forward. They didn't fully engage. They just threw their missiles and stood. They're at a severe disadvantage attacking, worse defending, but they're there for an extra round if they defend, perhaps. So by positioning themselves there, they're making it more difficult, I think, on the Romans, and making it maybe a longer term engagement before the phalanxes can hit. But also, these forces are going to be streaming into uncomfortable positions when they rout. So it was kind of a hard decision, but let's, keep the Romans in place and do some damage to them while we can. Maybe break in with the elephants, maybe. I think it's kind of a gamble. I don't think the Carthaginians have a good situation here. Rome's got to be pretty happy with themselves. Right now, you've got kind of the Carthaginian forces kind of coming in not in a most orderly fashion. They're going to have trouble hitting with the force that they'd like to. And, hey, all those javelineers in the front rank, they're back. They're recharged. They got their weapons again. So it's going to have to be another move, maybe with the skirmishers. But this line is now interspersed with elephants, so they have to either send it all forward or just send the slingers forward. They can't just send the slingers forward, actually. So they either have to send it all forward or send it forward piecemeal, one commander at a time, which isn't going to give them enough commands to fire forward with the whole line after they draw fire, if they draw fire. Over here, the phalanx is stuck behind a bunch of lighter troops, unable to really reach in and do its work. It's just, Hannibal's position is not enviable right now. If it weren't for the fact that Nero could be coming in at any moment, his position would be great. He's got him encircled, and he can wear him down as he likes. But with that additional force sitting out there, that's going to be able to harass him if he's not careful. And so he probably can't commit as hard as he wants to as long as it's out there. Question, of course, is does he know it's out there? Probably, but we never know, how much information there is in this kind of era. Total losses, one big elephant, which is, of course, worth 2 cohesion points for Carthage. They have 105 before they break. Rome has 120. Fairly even battle. I feel like the Roman number should be lower until Nero comes in, or maybe grow when he comes in. All right, let's go to the next turn. All right, starting another turn here in Nola. Made a roll for good old Nero. He's still not showing up. And at this point, it's up to Carthage to try to break that formation the Romans have. They're going to pretty much allow the Romans to do whatever they like on their actions, just in order to get to move last. So if the Romans end up, taking the offensive here and breaking some of these light infantry, well, that's going to break their formation a little bit and allow Carthage to maybe take an opportunity. If, on the other hand, the Romans just sit there, which I think is what they're going to try to do, then Carthage may be forced to continue doing this kind of harassment tactics, with the light cav up here, the Numidians, just trying to break up that formation, and then with the infantry and the elephants picking off corners here and there, just trying to damage the Roman formation and get some kind of toehold where they can just crush it. Honestly, all the cards would be in the Carthaginians' favor if it weren't for the fact that Nero could come in at any time. And I think I've finally gotten the skirmishers right. They all moved forward before the elephants did, all part of the same line action, but they moved forward, throw their rocks, and then run away. And the entire Roman line pretty much fired missiles in this. I have to mark this one. This one fired at an elephant. But now the elephants strike. We're making a couple concentrated attacks with the elephants so that they can get somewhat better frontage there. I still didn't get this elephant into play yet. He wasn't part of the main line that Hamilcar sent forward. So, it's not a perfect situation yet, but we're definitely weakening that line and opening things up so that the medium infantry can get the first shot in. And then, maybe I'll hit with the lights as well. Just try to crush the front right on. We'll see. So the Roman line largely held in front of the elephants. Big, heavy crunch. And you've got a couple elephants remaining, a couple went off the board. But over here, we had a crush going through and a real break in the line. We got 3 of the elephants died, but we got a hole. And that hole could be very interesting. The light infantry is not quite fast enough to exploit it, to get around. There's nothing really back here that's available to do so. So, it may not mean much, but it may be a problem for the Romans, and we'll see. All right, well, let's see if good old Hamilcar gets a continuation. And he does not. And the thing he really doesn't want is to get the double nines, which would end the turn for him, onto another Carthaginian, because that would give the Romans a chance then to redeploy their forces back a space and really not suffer for this. And now after Hasdrubal has gone, the Roman line's looking a lot weaker. Not only here, but he's kind of smacked through and broken that line up a little bit more, cracked it again here, broke it over here. You see routed units left and right. It looks like the Carthaginian attack is succeeding. All those Celts moving forward, hitting that weakened, tired line, took the elephants. The elephants kind of disappear afterwards. Yeah, they may cause some chaos, but they leave things open so that the infantry can come charging right up on them. And then the one last elephant finally got moved. We see the cav moved here as well. But it really does look like the Roman line is breaking in the center, where it kind of was at its strongest. Now this is the time where the Principes can come in and try to push back. And that's really what we have to hope for them. The phalanx is still kind of out of position. Still have a chance to do something with the lights, maybe crack the line in one more place. And you know, if it does break, the Numenidians are ready to go charging in. But right now it looks like they're kind of in the wrong place, and everywhere where there are breaks, there's not really a lot of room to maneuver. These cav couldn't get in here and do a lot of damage, so it's still kind of up in the air right now. And the Principes smashed forward, filling the line in, cracking here, smacking them back here, hitting an elephant straight on. Speaking of which, I've got an elephant to rout. Let's take care of that. One. Oh, it's going to hit a Roman. It's not going to rout him. Once I take care of this rampaging elephant, then I guess I can speak a little bit more. 9, it's gone. Alright. But yeah, they weren't able to completely stop things, and unfortunately for Marcellus, he wasn't able to get any sort of momentum at all. He rolled an 8, he needed a 7 or less. If he had gotten it, there would have been a trump. I probably would have used Maharabal, but I might have even triggered Hannibal for this, because Maharabal doesn't have that much to do with his Numenidians. He can fire them off once, throw some javelins. It's nice to be able to recover them, but it's a nice to have. Whereas Hannibal's able to get a better chance at stopping the Romans from doing anything. And so now they've stopped anyway automatically, and there's a couple of routed Romans here and here that are going to kind of play some havoc with that Trigari line and maybe open things up for the Numenidians to come close enough to trigger the Trigari. Not that the Trigari can do much. They're not as good as the legionary units. This was the Principes coming in. These are the killer units for the Roman, and they didn't manage it. So it's looking much worse. I was thinking I'd perhaps get 2 actions or more. Didn't happen. So Hannibal, in his haste, is doing something that normally you wouldn't want to do. He's actually engaged with his light infantry. Even some of them that were standing at a short distance and couldn't get the kind of charge advantage. And he did pretty well. He broke a couple of Roman units. One of his broke. But he is kind of using them in a situation they're really not meant for, which is to say the legionary infantry does double damage to them because it's got a superior performance on the shock table, as well as having a better chart on defense. Unlike the medium infantry, which can charge forward and attack just fine against the legions, and actually is pretty well matched. They roll on the 7 table, no advantage. The legions attack back with an advantage, but the lights are just not capable of hitting the legions hard enough. Still, he wants to break this up as fast as possible. In fact, if he gets, which he does, a momentum roll, he may just push him a little harder and try to get these outflanks going with some of his forces. He's beginning to break that line, and he wants to just crush this whole side in. The huge phalanx units, tempting maybe? I don't know. He can't really get them in. He doesn't have room to move them. There's too much crap in the way. So if this thing's not fatigued, it may charge forward as well, clear some room, and maybe slam forward with 1 phalanx at least. We'll see how much damage he can do. Well, Hannibal has managed to exploit the breaks that he had and has smacked a real gaping hole over here. This whole Roman left flank is just wide open. There's a Romans kind of stretched out here. We got some of those light infantry crashing through here. We got the phalanx, took them out. This is what happened. Over here doesn't look too good either, especially with those extra cav over there preventing these cav from really being able to do too much about the Celts. They can come in and hit 1. This could tighten up and save itself. This looks pretty unlikely, and I think that whole Roman line is just going to get rolled up. All right, what about points? Well, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 for Carthage. Ooh, that's easy to write. And the Romans pick up 16. So, point-wise, we're nowhere near the end. But when you look at the situation, it's pretty clear that the Romans don't have much of a chance here at this point. Even if Nero comes in at this time, I think the battle's over. He just doesn't have the kind of force to be able to completely turn things. Now, if he comes in the north, he might be able to save the day there. Over in the south, no chance. Back here, way too far away. All right, up this one goes. Looks like it's about over, though.